Hey everyone, this is Mystic. You can call me Angel, and welcome back to my channel and the 150 Script Challenge. This is where I read scripts, analyze them, and work through my process, not just for entertainment, but also to have this discussion as writers and how I'm growing skills, understanding the process, and learning as we go. Because as I always say, as creatives, no matter where we are on our journey, there's always room to build, refine, and challenge ourselves. And as a screenwriter, I am always entertained by reading scripts, and I always believe that we can learn so much about this craft by learning from the skills of the people who have come before us or the people who are doing it with us today. So before I get started, as always, a little bit of housekeeping. I love the community. I appreciate every single one of you for dropping by to hang out with me. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you could take a moment to subscribe and just smash that like button to help the algorithm monsters keep me in the high end of visibility to support my work. And if you wouldn't mind leaving a comment, I love having conversations as we go through this process together. Just always remember that we're building a safe place for creatives here. So always respect and kindness. I don't mind a debate. That's why we're here. I am analyzing scripts, so this is going to be my opinion. So you may not agree with me. You may find things different from what's in the film because I'm reading from the script. All that's fine and dandy. I love talking about films and I love debating. Just be nice and kind and respectful. All right. So we are going to jump right into my 100 scripts challenge, 150 script challenge. Oh my goodness. I am on script number 17. I've got lots of notes, so you're going to hear lots of papers jostling around because this was a good one. I am going to be doing Pitch Black. So Pitch Black was a sci-fi horror film. I was able to find a draft. It was the first draft from March of 1998. It is a screenplay by David Twohy, based on material by Ken and Jim Wheat. It is a sci-fi survival suspense horror, and it is a pretty intense action film that this script was turned into. It drops us straight into a darkness. It's a transport ship crash lands on a desert world where night isn't just dangerous, there's predators that come out at night. And the script here blends survival tension with character clash, mistrust, and then the creeping dread of what happens when the suns go down, and there's multiple suns that go down. So why did I choose this script? Pitch Black was something that I would wanted to read. I'm a fan of the film. I remember when it first came out. It's got that wonderful ensemble combination, and it's also kind of got like a body count element to it. It's a pressure cooker storytelling. It's just a lot of stuff happening, unveiling of all kinds of things in the darkness and in the light. So I wanted to see how that all happened on the page after, living with all these years of seeing it happen on the screen. So spoilers, as always, I'm going to be reading through parts of the script and describing the script. So if you haven't seen the film, you want to go watch it and come back and do this with me, you can. And if you want to read with me, I always link where you can go and pull up scripts on your own. And if you're a writer, I really highly recommend that you do. So the quick story setup here. A transport ship crashes on the planet. It's a scorched planet. It's like a desert planet, and it has multiple suns. The survivors try to navigate through the wreckage to figure out how to stay alive, and then, what the next steps are. They discover in their scouring and scavenging through the planet that there is total darkness. It's a rare eclipse that happens where the planet goes into complete darkness. So that is the story setup. So my heart of the story analysis, I'm going to walk through the act structure that I was able to pull out here. So we open up with the ship in chaos. There's an autopilot malfunction and a violent crash. Survivors emerge from the wreckage in the blistering desert, fractured group of people, limited resources, and so there's tension everywhere. The inciting incident happens when they discover an abandoned settlement. There are strange bones, hints of something happened, and that something else lives there. We're not quite sure. We just know that there's something going on in the darkness. The first plot point is when the group realizes that an eclipse is coming. And in this story element is when they do kind of a clock is ticking thing, which is kind of always my favorite thing to do, is like we have to beat the clock before this thing happens, and that's how we initiate the first plot point. Then we have the midpoint where Riddick and Fry have a clash over leadership because Fry is the captain in charge because the captain did not make it through, and then Riddick, who is the bad guy, and then we have Johns, who represents an authority figure, like a police officer kind of figure, who has duplicity in his character, which is interesting. So he is a witness, he is authority, he is also kind of shady, so he's got lots of interesting elements that all come together. So in the midpoint, we get to learn about the characters a little more that are critical to the storytelling. The second plot point, we have the creatures that swarm when the eclipse hits. So in the words of the greats, this is when the action starts in the story. So we go through the opening, the inciting incident, the plot point one, and the midpoint, and then live action starts at this point because the eclipse hits, the creatures swarm, and characters start to get picked off one by one. Alliances are formed and fracture, and then it becomes desperate survival. We get to the climax, which will have the final push to reach the escape ship. Characters have to decide whether to trust Riddick at this point in time and confront their own fear or sacrifice one another. In the resolution, the survivors who remain are the ones who make it off the world. They are scared, they are changed, and they are bonded together by the ordeal. So the protagonist in this story is interesting because the protagonist in the story, for me, the protagonist is Riddick. And Riddick is kind of a dark anti-hero protagonist. He wants freedom. He is all about just being free, pure and simple. No chains, no escort. He has no desire for redemption arc. He just wants to be free, to be himself, to be unchained and unblocked. His need is to step out of pure self-survival and act for the group when it matters. That's his need. He wants to do what he wants to do when he needs to do it, not be told what to do. His obstacles here, Johns, who's obsessed with controlling and framing him and keeping him under his thumb and keeping him captured. Then there's Fry's leadership. She's in charge. She wants to be the one that is in command, and he doesn't want to listen to her. Then there's the religious and moral tension with the group. They have these groups of individuals that are on a pilgrimage, and they're very deep in their religion. And so morality is questioned, respect is questioned. There's a lot of stuff that comes up that Riddick is just not about. He's just not about it. He doesn't believe in the things that these fundamental Christians believe in. The creatures themselves are an obstacle for him, of course. And then his own past and his instinct, his lack of trust, his instinct to be self-involved and only self-aware in his need to take care of and protect himself. His transformation, he shifts from becoming a lone predator to reluctant predator. Instead of just thinking for himself, in the end, he does shift. Not a hero, but choosing connection versus abandoning the other people at the end. And so the antagonist and the conflict here, the primary antagonists are the creatures. So they are nightborn, they are predatory, They are apex predator. Angel loves the apex predator story. They're triggered by sound and movement in the darkness, the ultimate fear. And in this script, they did a really great job of showing that escalation. And that's one of the things I was interested in reading this script, because when you watch Pitch Black, you see it. So how did that transform onto the page? And being able to really visually see that these things are responding to the characters, and the characters are in the dark. Chef's kiss. It was just really, really great. But then there's also Johns, who is an obstacle because he's the guy that's chasing him. He's the police officer, the bounty hunter. He's the guy that's there to keep him shackled. So he has to fight to survive the monsters and fight for his freedom from Johns. The core conflict in this for him is survival versus trust. The creatures are the pressure, but the humans are the danger. That's what I got. Like the creatures are the pressure. For Riddick, he comes from a life where he knows how to survive. He knows how to fight the elements and fight everything to do what he needs to do to survive. But humans, they are kind of like that one element that you can't predict. They're the danger. They will do things that you ask them not to do. They do things to put you in danger. They make sounds. They do things contrary to instructions, which can cause the creatures to see you when you're trying not to be seen. So humans are the danger because the creatures are just there doing what they do. And then the mirror structure that I found here, Riddick's darkness versus the planet's literal darkness. So Riddick's dark soul, we'll say, his criminal dark soul. And then there is the planet literally in darkness. John's false heroism versus Fry's emerging courage. This was so good. This was so really good. At the beginning, when the accident happened, Fry was willing to sacrifice everyone to save herself. As they were crash landing, the ship is going to, just bad things are going to happen because it's going to hit, it's going to explode. She's trying to save where she is on the ship, and the only way that she could think to do it is to jettison the back of the ship, which is where there are 50 other survivors that are in Cairo sleep. So for her statement in that moment was, I am not willing to die for them. And at the end of the story, she says, I am willing to die for them. And she does. So, man, to have Johns there representing authority, having kind of this false heroism that turns out to not be real heroism. He says like drugs. He has all kinds of things about him that aren't true. He's a little deceptive. You can't trust him. And then Fry, who wanted to be trusted and wanted to be believed, and she wanted to be a hero. She wanted to be the one, and at the end she was the one. Now, how do we apply the hero's journey to this? Because I'm always, that's my favorite trope. So how do we apply the hero's journey to this? So the call to adventure here is the crash. Everybody has to adapt or die. The refusal to the call is, Riddick staying detached. He's happy to stand back and watch the group rather than getting involved. So the mentor and slash influence figures, there's Imam, who is the moral compass. He's the leader of the pilgrimage group. And he is the moral compass that kind of keeps Riddick facing the right way versus the dark way. Then there's Fry's leadership arc, for watching her go from wanting nothing but what she needs to being willing to sacrifice herself. You see him shift his focus by watching her shift her arc. And then the kids, there were a lot of young people in the story that their vulnerability, reminding Riddick of the stakes. I felt that was kind of cool. And then trials, there were lots of trials: crossing the desert, navigating canyons, hauling power cells to try to get to the skiff to work. So yes, fighting and survival. And then the transformation, when the eclipse hits, the pretenses drop, the masks have to drop. And Riddick resisted at first, but as we were in the darkness longer, he chose to engage rather than just escape. And then the return, he earns his freedom by surviving and by choosing not to abandon the final survivors. And so he was now a survivor. And so what are our primary themes here? Morality under pressure. You know, there is a lot of focus here on morality choices. Who are you when survival demands everything? Leadership versus cowardice, especially for Fry. Because in the end, if you think about it, it is kind of cowardice. It's like you don't want to fight to save anybody. You want to just save yourself. Darkness within and darkness on the outside, inside, outside darkness. I thought that was kind of cool. And the cost of trust, the danger with withholding trust. Trust comes up a lot when you deal with these kinds of films. And the last 3 scripts we've done, I think we had the concept of trust hit really hard. Key emotional beats, the heartbeat of this script here for me. Fry's confession about almost jettisoning the passengers during the crash. Beautiful moment in the story when John throws it out there because he knew about it, and she confesses to the group that she was going to do it. John's unravels and reveals his instability, which is a pretty scary moment. And then, you know, the first reveal of the creatures, it was absolutely overwhelming, and it was really cool that they came out. This script is the language is kind of blunt and clear. It's not the kind of script I'm used to reading, real talk, and it is a first draft. So I could not find the final draft. I might try to find it again and look at it to see if anything shifted, but it was direct. It was very clear. This happened, that happened. There was no flourishing. It was a very clear script. And it also had a statement at the beginning, which I'm not used to. There was lots of notes and statements from the author about things. Let me see what this says. That's really interesting. The first thing you get before you read the script on here is a note that says, though mentioned often in the script, the creatures in pitch black are seldom seen at length. Rather, they are glimpsed, they are heard, they are felt. And then it goes on and says some more things. So the creatures aren't as descriptive in the script as like I might have made them, because the author said that. So a lot of the writing comes from a perspective of how the characters react and observe and are feeling with the creatures there. That was really cool. That was really cool. And then the final sacrifice that determines who's going to make it off the planet. It was Fry's sacrifice that allowed Riddick to get back to the skiff, that allowed those who survived to survive. That was a real good, noble sacrifice, I will have to say. Symbolisms and motifs, again, I said it, light versus dark. Not just environmental, but in the moral aspects of human morality. Shadows. Riddick's comfort versus others' fears. Alcohol and drugs, you know, they had alcohol. Alcohol was used as a spark for life because they used the alcohol to help keep light going. But then you had drugs that Johns was using. The thing that was real interesting is that he had the drugs, but then those drugs he had could have saved somebody's life at the beginning if he had told everybody that he had the drugs, and he didn't. The ruins in the bones at the beginning, seeing the outcome of what it looked like in the past when these things were flying around before you knew what these things were. That was something that sat out for me. Then finally, the connection, the heartbeat. This script is who people become when the lights go out. I say that and it sounds simple, but that's what it came down to for me when I read the script and I went through and I did my notes. I'm like, this is who you are when the lights go out. And not everybody is nice and sweet and wonderful when fear takes over. It's not about the monsters. The monsters are always there. You're going to have a movie. You're going to have a story. Monsters are there. Lights go out. There's the monsters. It's not about who the monsters are. It's about who we are when we're in that situation where we're facing the monster. Some key craft lessons that I see from this. The environment as the antagonist, I've said this before, where the planet or the place, the location is like a character. And this was done really well. The tension of the group, the ensemble, coming together, that every character has a role, and that the escalation is done through the characters, whether they are taken out one by one, how the others engage, how the others react. That ticking clock, that clock-based storytelling, when they see that the eclipse is coming and what we have to do, and then finding out that it comes and not realizing what it really was about, really, really magnificent. And then using monsters as magnifiers to what we are, human truths, untold, not just because of fear, because of little things about ourselves. And then character morality, who we are that is causing this thing to fall apart. Everybody has their little skeletons in the closet and the little monsters in their personalities. This story did a really good job of showing the flaws of characters of individuals that was actually the reason that caused them their demise in the end. My personal reflection. Reading this script was a reminder for me that survival stories shine when the group is broken. And we've done this before, like I said. We've had the stories before where we've looked at a group of people being affected by something has invaded their space and things happen. And if the group is cohesive, they usually have to introduce something wild. And it's about the wild element that they've introduced. But the story is also really good when the group is broken, when there's some sort of a shattering element within that group that makes it difficult for them to come together to try to fight together. And that is a classic way to write in these kind of monster movie themes, and it works. It's absolutely brilliant. So I love it. In every dynamic, believer, criminal, coward, leader, zealot, it creates that friction that pushes the story forward even before the monsters arrive. So you're already feeling it. You're already in it. And then, oh yeah, there's a monster. That's right. So I love that. And it's also one of those scripts that makes me think about pressure. How to reveal the truth, how to reveal the things in your stories, how to reshape people's arcs in the end, how to create an imagery, the way this writer created Fry at the beginning when she was really ready to just let a whole bunch of people go. And that line, I will not die for them. And then in the end, she fought hard to save people's lives through this story. She took it serious what her role was as the leader of this group of people. And she was willing, she said, I will die for them. And she did. Really, really great, really great. And like I said, at its heart, Pitch Black is about who you choose to be when everything goes dark, and how light isn't about the sun overhead, or suns in this case, but the choices you make